I know why you're here. You read a title. It said a podcast. You clicked on the video and expected information that you never heard before. You expected knowledge. You expected tips. You expected stories. You expected things that will help you succeed. And that's why you clicked on this channel. Do you think you're gonna get what you were looking for? Are you getting it right now? Maybe you're getting knowledge right now and you don't even know about it. Yeah, you like that. Oh my god, what a great start off to a podcast. Ugh, I'm sorry. How about the most weirdest podcast in the world? How about that? Probably not the most weird podcast in the world. Hello everyone. My name is Clementine and welcome back to Clementine Creative, which is a new channel. Clementine Creative is a channel where we speak in Thai language. Thai. I'm joking. If there's anyone who's Thai and is watching this, please. Is that even how you call it? I'm really sorry if I'm failing this. In our language, it's called completely different. Not completely different, but slightly different. Clementine Creative is the channel. I'm Clementine, and I'll be your host tonight on Who Wants to Become a Millionaire? Nah, that is a joke, but I am going to be your host, and I am going to be talking today about basically how I got to where I am today, but not skill-wise, sort of my journey to becoming an artist, or a designer, concept artist. It really depends on how you see this. The most important thing is that you need to know. Let me say that again. The most important thing that you need to know is that this is my first podcast. I mean, it started off great, absolutely wonderful. This is my first podcast. It might not be the best. I'm gonna try to make this sort of interesting. I bought acoustic foam, which, if you don't know, absorbs sound and it doesn't echo as much. Hopefully you're hearing much less echoing now that you have before. I still need to do sort of a protection wall because one side of my office space here is completely open, so sound there can just bounce from every single direction. So, hopefully I'll be able to fix that. I have an idea how I'm going to fix it, and hopefully it's going to work. I'm still waiting for some of the foam to arrive. That's one thing. The second thing is I made a lot of different videos before year 2017, so before New Year. And while we're already there, Happy New Year. I know I'm kind of late to the game, but better late than never, I guess. But I did make some videos in year 2016 that I have not yet published. Videos such as a vlog on Christmas. I also did not really a podcast, but it's more like an episode where me and my friend basically filmed each other. We were talking about how we think that you can improve things that helped us, and I haven't even edited that video yet. And the thing is, I want to make something new for this channel, something where it's not art. I don't always want to come back with drawing because I feel like that can get very repetitive. I want to be back with something that's slightly different, and a podcast is a very great way to start because I wanted to do vlogs. I wanted to do the thing I did with my roommate. But the thing with that is you have to film it. And I don't always feel it, especially when it comes to vlogs. I love watching vlogs on YouTube. I love the idea of vlogs. But when I actually decide to do it on my own, it seems very tedious, which I don't want it to sound like I don't want to do it or anything. But it does feel very tedious. It doesn't feel like I want to do it, though. It just feels like I'm forcing myself to do it because everybody else is doing it. And I don't think that's the point of vlogging. I think the point of vlogging is you're basically logging your life. And you got to be excited about that kind of stuff because people can see if you're just forcing it out. And I don't want to force it out because it's going to look stupid. But I do want to show you some of those videos. I guess I can just make a little montage and you can see what I was doing. You can tell me what you like the most. I also was thinking about making a Draw My Life video, which I'm only 20 years old, and I don't have a lot to show, but I am an artist, so I guess I could show my, path of improvement or progress path of progress, and basically how I got to today. But I want to make a podcast version of that first because I love recording videos. I realized that when I started out recording videos, I hated I hated recording my sound. I was so nervous. Like, I remember the first video I made, I had to think about breathing because I was just talking really fast. I ran out of air, and I was like talking, and I was like, no air left, and it was horrible. Those were really bad recordings. And I remember doing this really weird settings on Audition, Adobe Audition, and I remember doing this weird sound options for my voiceover because I saw it from one of this YouTuber, but his voice is really sexy, nice and deep, it really goes with those settings. Mine is not sexy, mine is just a casual voice. But yeah, anyways, as I was saying, I did some weird stuff when I started out, but eventually I came to love it, and now I really do like it. And just sitting here, in front of my table, in front of my computer, I'm literally staring at a Google Chrome home screen, the new tab where you have the little squares that show what's the most popular searches you did. And it's really funny. I'm just sitting here talking and just like slightly spitting on my chair, but it has a really nice feeling to it. I feel very comfortable right now, and I really could go for a little bit of a storytelling. And the idea for podcast actually came from my YouTube channel, which I am going to credit because that idea is almost like, it's not a ripoff. I've seen a lot of these type of videos, and I love listening to story time. I love playing video games and listening to someone talk about things that happened to them in life. One of these people is Luna on YouTube. If you haven't checked it out yet, you should totally check him out. Has a lot of interesting stories, that actually happened. If you're ever bored, you don't know what to do, or if you just like listening to stories, like I do, I think that's a great place to start. And I really think you should support Luna, as he makes really nice content. So yeah, the idea came from Luna. Him telling his story. And so I decided that the first podcast, and I know it took me 7 minutes to get to this, I'm sorry. But the first story that I want to, share with you is the story of how I started in art, how I started drawing, and basically what drove me to be where I am today, the lifestyle that I have today. So again, I'm 20 years old. Not a lot has happened in 20 years. When you're 20 years old, literally the stuff that you could put in how to draw my life is about to begin. So wait another 8 years and then I'll make another draw my life video. Again, sorry, totally blew in the microphone again. I have a lot of problem, but I have put on some acoustic foam also on the microphone. It should absorb a lot of P's, P when you say P, and yeah, it's kind of like a pop filter. It's homemade right now. Pop filters in my country are really expensive, and I try to go DIY as much as I can, and eventually I'm gonna buy a pop filter and a better microphone too. Anyways, that was not me, by the way. That was my roommate coughing. But let's go to the story. So, what's the best place to begin? I heard that the best place for beginning is the beginning, right? So let's start there. I was about, God knows, I was had to be 7 years old, maybe a little bit older. No, when do children go to first grade? 7 year when you're 7 years old. So I guess I was 8 years old, 8 to 9 years old. My brother just went to high school, so he didn't live with us anymore. He went to live with my grandparents' house because me and my grandparents don't live in the same house. Before I actually continue, I do have coffee here, so I'm gonna have sips of coffee, which I already did right now. Before I even told you I'm gonna have a sip of coffee, I got myself a sip of coffee. But I'm gonna be sipping coffee while I talk, so hopefully that doesn't bother you too much. And again, you can just listen to this while you're working. You don't actually have to watch the video, obviously. All right, let's do this. Again, I was about 9 years old. My brother went to high school, and at a time I had a strong connection with my brother. I have a brother and a sister, and I'm the youngest of the three. My brother is the oldest. And I hated my sister so much when I was little. It's really funny because now we're actually, all three of us are really close together. I feel like I really have a strong connection with both of them. Maybe because I'm the youngest. But I remember at the time, I really didn't like my sister. And I had a really good connection with my brother. And I think that's just a normal thing that happens. Guys will always side together, especially in a sibling sort of situation. So my brother went to high school, and I missed him because he always used to live home and we used to hang out, and then he only came home for the weekends. And at the time, this TV show came on the TV called Art Attack, which I'm sure a lot of you know. Art Attack, which was translated into Slovenian language, and I thought it was the most amazing thing ever. And I remember the host of that show, I don't know what his name was, but I remember the host of that show was so cool. I always thought he was so badass, and he could do all these different things, right? So I started to mimic what I saw on Art Attack, and I started drawing, drawings for him, for my brother. And not just drawing, but I also did a lot of different things, like cast a lot of paper mache. And anything that I saw on Art Attack and I thought it was kind of cool, I did to my brother, sort of to show my appreciation for him. It was just really something that I wanted to give him. And I think that's when I really started to draw a little bit more serious. That's the time, because I remember every weekend he came home. I had something for him, and he had everything saved, I remember. But then, after a while, I stopped drawing, and it was just a natural thing in my class to know that I was one of the better, drawers in our class. I was one of the artistic types. Wasn't the best one though, because I actually didn't draw as much. I was good at drawing, but didn't draw a lot. So then, I don't know what year, I think I was like, it had to be 8th grade, second half of 8th grade, this is something I already talked about on my YouTube channel. I met this girl, which I have talked to her before, but this time I think we were talking something about Inuyasha, and if you don't know what Inuyasha is, it's a manga, an older manga and anime as well. So we were talking about that, and sort of got me inspired. And you know how guys are, okay? When a girl has an interest that you've got, you totally have a crush for her. It always happens, right? So I got a crush on her, and I was like, you know what? Let's try to impress her. So I go and start drawing Inuyasha, right? And I mean, those are one of the most horrible drawings in the world. I mean, if you go on my Facebook page, I can actually, if you're watching the video, I'm gonna show like 2 or 3 drawings that I did of Inuyasha. Just horrible and disgusting, but that's when I started to draw manga. And I remember I went online, and you have these websites with video, like online flash games, and one of the flash game was actually a tutorial on how to draw manga. Very basic stuff, right? Let me have a sip of my coffee here. So very basic stuff, right? I go online, look at a tutorial. Basically you just look at some pictures, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna try to draw this, because I at that point I was sort of into it, right? And around that time, something else also happened. I started watching Bleach. That happened because my brother showed me. You see, my brother was always into anime. He was into Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, Inuyasha, these bigger shonen titles. When I was little, we used to watch Inuyasha and One Piece with my brother on German television. So if you're German, you probably actually had the same anime and the same channel. I think it was called Super RTL, or as we call it, Super RTL, which is just a little bit more sharp on the R and L, on R and T actually. So anyways, that's where I watched it. I remember it being even in German, and that was such a fond memory of mine, because I remember me and my brother, first grade, right? Me and my brother come home from school. The first thing we do is sit down in front of the TV. We go on, and those were the times where the TV was actually satellite TV, right? So we go on that satellite TV. I'm not sure if that's what it's called in English. I'm pretty sure it has a different name. We call it satellite TV. You literally had like an antenna that looked like a satellite from space. It was really weird. I'm talking about one of those big ones that has like a plate for signal grabbing or whatever. I don't know much about antennas. Anyways, we were watching it on Super RTL, and I remember watching Inuyasha and One Piece. Those were the 2 we watched. And I remember this other one, also Detective Conan, which I loved so much. It was always so good. Even though, funny enough, I didn't understand the word they were saying, I still sort of didn't feel like I was left out. I enjoyed watching it. And of course, that's one of the things you do as a child. Again, I remember, I fondly remember, let's say Inuyasha. I remember when they had a preview of the next episode. And I remember it was the episode where Inuyasha breaks his sword. And I remember the title being like, "The Saiga zerbricht," which literally means the Saiga breaks. And that's, I don't know, it was just, it was just a really cool episode. And I remember it being even in German. And that was such a fond memory of mine, because I remember me and my brother, first grade, we used to watch Inuyasha and One Piece with my brother on German television. So if you're German, you probably actually had the same anime and the same channel. I think it was called Super RTL, or as we call it, Super RTL. So those are some really good memories. All right, that's what really kept me always motivated to draw, because I remember those drawings, and I remember when I was little, a warm feeling. And I always say that if I could exchange, so I could for one day go back to any memory, I think it would be the one where me and my brother watched One Piece. I still clearly remember the scene where Luffy was so pissed off at Crocodile, and if you watch One Piece, you know what I'm talking about. And these were some of the fondest memories, and I remember referencing back to those days while I was drawing, and I started to draw a lot. So I started to draw manga more and more, right? So I draw. Of course, I get a little bit better, right? And then here comes time. We get to 9th grade. I don't know how it is in other countries. In our country, it's like this. You go to elementary school, which starts with 1st grade and goes up to 9th grade. After that, you go to high school. After high school, you go to college, right? That's all we got. So there's 4 years of high school, and then there's 3 years of college. So we go to 9th grade, and here you have to decide which high school you'll go to, right? You have different high schools, each specializes for something, right? I'm not sure, again, how it is in other countries. That's why I'm explaining this. So I was like, where should I go? I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, which is, funny enough, I was drawing a lot, but, I didn't come from a family that really supported that a lot. They didn't really think of it as something that could be a career. It was more just a hobby. So obviously I never thought about that being an option. And the teachers at our school had to be crazy stupid. They probably had no idea what the school that I eventually went to was all about, because when they said, I'm just going to tell you what happened. In 9th grade, you have to decide where you're going to go, what your first 3 school choices are. And I think it's first 3. I'm not sure. There's definitely 2 choices. I'm not sure about the 3rd one. And you do that, so if you're not accepted in the first one, you can still go to the 2nd one, and so on. So, I go there to this lady that basically takes our wishes, and she sort of suggests us what we should do based on what we're good at. And she's like, yeah, where do you want to go? And I was the biggest idiot at the time. Me and my friend totally wanted to go to the school together because we didn't want to be apart. Because we were afraid of there was a lot of rumors of how they treat freshmen. Apparently, throw corn at you, and corn, because in our language, a freshman in high school is called a fazan, which fazan is a animal, it's a chicken thing. Kaji fazan. All right, my roommate's gonna search it up. I have no idea what it's called in English. Anyways, and that's why they throw corn, because chickens eat corn, right? And then they do really weird stuff. What's it called? Let's see.
Rook?
A rook.
What the fuck is a rook?
A rook. I don't know. It does this sound. A pheasant? Is it called a pheasant? It's not a rook. It's a pheasant. It's literally written almost as a peasant. It's a PC peasant, everyone. No, I'm joking. Anyways, they come to you and they say, cause that's the sound it does. And then they write FRRRRRR on everywhere, on your face, on everything. It's stupid, right? And they do that. And we were so afraid of that. And we wanted to just stick together because we didn't have any friends, right? In different schools, obviously. So I go in there and she's like, what do you want to do? And I say, I want to go to the economics school, which I hope that's what it is in other countries as well. But in our country, economics school is basically, that's where you learn how to be I guess, a lot about trading, how to deal with money, economic stuff, basically. And I think that's how it is in every country. So, and that type of school in our country is known as one of the easiest schools, right? I don't know why, because now that I think about it, there's probably a lot of math, and math is not that easy for most people. So I don't understand what they're trying to say with that. But anyways, that is one of the more popular schools because it's really easy or something. So my first choice, economics school. So basically, thanks, Vice. You totally effed me over. Now, I lost what I was talking about. You screwed me over so badly, you asshole. This podcast is taking a great direction. Let me start over, okay? What they do to you. Okay, I know where I was. Frick. Okay, this podcast is horrible. I'm so sorry. 20 minutes in, I'm already making mistakes. This is horrible. horrible, everyone. Anyways, my first choice, economics school, right? Stupidest decision ever, right? Never go to some school because your friend is going to. Again, slip. I'm gonna have a sip of my coffee. Anyways, here I am. That's my first choice. And then this lady, this is what she says to me. She says, yeah, but you know there's this school for designing in Maribor, which is the city I live in now. I'm like, oh, really? That's so nice. What's it all about? And she says, oh, yeah, it's really cool. You know, you're going to be making little puppets out of fabric and stuff like that. And I'm like, are you fucking serious with me? Like, I'm supposed to be making puppets? Like, what the F, right? And I'm sorry for the strong language, but the strong language is going to be present in my podcast because it's needed sometimes, okay? So if you're sort of sensitive to that, but still, she said I'm going to make puppets, man. If somebody says you're going to be making puppets out of fabric on a designing school, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to the economy school, right? That was so stupid. That woman didn't know at all what they were doing in our school, which is, you don't even do puppets in our school. There's no such thing as puppetry in our school. It's the biggest BS ever, right? What they do in our school is graphic design, multimedia, which is basically filming, news or films or things like that, fashion designers and hairstylists. That's what we have at our school. And the first thing she says to me is, you're going to be making puppets, and I was like, what the fuck, man? I'm not going to be making puppets, like, I'm not crazy because that's not what I want to do. I want to draw or whatever, but I didn't know at the time that I wanted to draw. But if I had to go do anything, it was drawing, right? I'm not going to go do any puppets. And again, I'm not trying to disrespect anyone who loves making puppets. That's just not my thing. So I'm like, hell no, I'm not going there. So I'm like, okay, economy school it is for me. And then my art teacher in elementary school, who was like a hero for me, I love him so much. My favorite teacher really inspired me to even go to this school. He was like, why don't you go to school of design? I'm like, oh, nah, I don't want to do puppets. And, he was like, what are you talking about? There's no puppets, man. It's like, you're designing. You learn how to be a designer. And so I was like, okay, cool. It sounded interesting, had second thoughts about it. Maybe I should go to this school. But then I started really getting into drawing, and I knew what I wanted to do immediately. I wanted to do anime. I didn't want to do manga. I didn't want to do anything else. I wanted to create anime. So animated stuff, right? My brother is like, well, for that, you're going to have to be a graphic designer, which kind of is true. In our country, graphic designer is the closest thing to an animator or a multimedia guy. They do a lot more actually animation than we do. But he said graphic designer. That's the first thing he came up with. So I'm like, graphic designer, huh? That's interesting, And I go to the school that supposedly makes you do puppets, right? So I go to the puppetry school, and guess what I found out? No fucking puppets, okay? Just a regular designing school. No puppets, man. No weird Kermit the Frog running around, It was... that was so... Nah, don't worry about it, bro. But, like, so weird, right? Puppets. Like... Okay, so I come to the school. I'm like, okay, what do I want to be? At that point, I didn't know if I wanted to be I knew I wanted to do anime. Didn't know exactly what, I guess under what discipline that falls in. So we had fashion design, multimedia, hairstylist, and graphic design. And that's what we had. Those were the choices, right? Obviously, I wasn't going to be a hairstylist. I have no idea how to do that. Even though I did shave my roommate's head into a really awesome Viking hairstyle. But still, I'm not a hairstylist, right? So I was deciding between all the designers that you can be. So the first one we looked at was a fashion designer, and I saw a lot of clothing being designed there, as fashion designers do that. So I saw a lot of these drawings with just like clothing on it, different clothing designs. And that's what I did at the time. Really, manga for me, or drawing for me, was just designing clothing, really. Because the face is the face, but then, everything else is more important. So I'm like, all right, so I think this is what I want to do. I want to be a fashion designer, right? I go see graphic design, graphic design, logo types, posters. That's what graphic design is, promotional art. And then you have multimedia artists, which I never was, multimedia designers, which I never was interested in, because that's filming. Again, I was not interested in it as doing a profession, but I'm highly interested in recording videos, and not just videos, movies, even short movies, making animations. I'm interested in designing clothing. I'm interested in anything that has to do with expressing oneself, like photography. Photography. What the? Oh my god, that was what? Photography? Photography? Do you guys do photography? Photography. Oh my god, photography. Jesus. This is a great podcast. I'm sure you're enjoying it so much right now. But no. So photography is one of the very good examples. I don't do it a lot because for photography you have to go outside. You have to take a lot of time. Because I feel like if you're gonna do photography, take some time, get really nice pictures, right? So I don't do a lot of photography, but again, it's one of the things that I really love to do, like as a hobby, right? So these are all the things I try to do as a hobby because I did some animations back in elementary school. I love doing anything that has to do with, designing or anything that has to do with drawing. So at the time I was like, okay, so I know what I want to do. I didn't want to be a multimedia guy, but I wanted to be a fashion designer, right? And then my sister talked me out of it because I think that she was that was the time where being gay was really weird. 6 years ago, and okay, yeah, 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago, where being gay was a little bit, especially in our country, which I don't know if you know, but Slovenia is probably one of the is the same size as one of the smaller cities in America. Okay, we have 2 million people. That's our entire population. Okay, it's crazy how small we are and undeveloped when it comes to homosexuality or any type of sexual orientation. And at the time, my sister was like, "Yeah, but if you're gonna be a fashion designer, you're gonna come out so gay, right?" Which, now that I think about it, really, I don't see any problem with that at all, right? Because man, gay people are fabulous as fuck. But no, like at that moment, she was like, "I don't think that's really what you want to do." So I'm like thinking about it. What is it that they do? And they don't just draw; they also sew, right? Fashion designers, that's who they are. Fashion designers don't just draw clothing, they also sew it, obviously. And I don't want to sew clothing. Again, I don't hate sewing. I don't want to sew clothing though. So I'm like, okay, graphic designer it is then. So I go first year of high school, graphic designer. Totally cool, right? Probably the best choice in my life I made. Basically, at that point, my dream changed from wanting to do anime into wanting to do manga because I went into, I was really good at drawing. But wasn't really an animator. And for animations, you have to... When I think of an animation, I don't think those crappy animations, I'm talking about a nice, clean edge and then really nice color feeling, not sketchy animations. And I wasn't really into that at the time. I wanted to do really nice art. My goal was always to create beautiful art. And so I changed, okay, I want to be a manga artist. And I drew a lot in first year of high school. More than I ever probably did. First and second year, in fact. And I remember even, there's this scene that's... The teacher, we had a Slovenian language just like you have English, right? So that's our first language. So there we are in class. She's talking to us, right? She's explaining. And, I'm just there looking in my notebook and drawing, right? And she sees it because I was sitting right next to her. And she was a really fun teacher. The explanations, she explained by jumping around in classroom, just, demonstrating stuff. It was really funny. And that's how you learned a lot of Slovenian language. And believe me when I say people fucking hate Slovenian language. Nobody likes that class. A lot of F's there. A lot of F's. Anyways, we go to... What am I talking about? Nobody goes anywhere. I'm just sitting there. I sit there, I'm drawing, and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, drawing. She didn't say what you're doing. I think that's what she had in her mind. It was more like, hey, why don't you repeat what I just said, right? Because she was explaining something to us, and she thought I wasn't listening to her. I remember that. And she said, just why don't you repeat exactly what I said, or something along those lines. Basically, trying to repeat what she said. And I did. I literally, quote unquote, said what she said, right? And she was shocked. And she was like, all right. And ever since then, I could draw as much as I want, and she would never bother me. And that's like one of the stories she still keeps telling around. And that was one of the moments where, that was one of the marks that led me to draw a lot in class and not listen a lot of the times. So I drew a lot, and here came second year of high school where we had to create a comic book for graphic design class. So I did. Everybody created like one page. I did like a 4-page comic that was really crappy. I think that like in my class, the people who made 1-page comic had a better story than my 4-page comic. I wanted to make a 4-page comic because I don't like 1-page stuff because it doesn't feel like you can put a lot on one page, especially with comic books and manga where drawing still a lot. Putting everything on one page is a little bit overwhelming. So I spread it out to 4 pages, right? Kind of manga style because I was into manga. Really amazing stuff. Loved it. You know, got a freaking A on that. But then the third year of high school came. And at that point, I gotten pretty good at drawing for the age that I was at, right? So it was like, what, for third year of high school, and at the end of the third year, very near the end of the third year, me and my now my roommate, back then my best friend, which still is my best friend, I don't know, but whatever, okay? Don't ask me questions, okay? You don't know me. Anyways. We started to get really into video. We were always into video games, but third year of high school, for some reason, we just like flipped from just talking about video games into actually talking about video game art, and we both got interested in our own fields. Mine was 2D concept art because it's very much like manga drawing, and funny fact is, when I say I was drawing a lot of manga, I wasn't drawing a lot of manga. I was drawing a lot of manga characters, all right? And that's where my love for character design comes from, because I always drew manga characters, right? I think that's what people mostly draw, because humans are way, way harder to draw than a building, right? And again, I don't want to sound like a douchebag to all the people who are awesome at drawing buildings. I'm just trying to say that a building is geometrical. Yeah. Geometral shape? What? I don't even know how you say that. It's square. Let's say it's a square, right? Or whatever. Don't ask me questions again. No, but a house is very easy to draw, or much easier to draw because of the straight lines, and it's much easier to remember a house. Whilst a person has proportions and different organic shapes that are very hard to get if you don't know exactly how something looks like, where things are. So that's why humans naturally draw more of that, because we just don't know how to draw it. And that's what you usually see on the internet anyways. It's people, you know. So here I was drawing manga characters all the time. And then this concept art shit comes along, and I'm like, whoa, that's really cool. Look at all that. Because I realized my designs were so plain. You know, manga has very plain designs, right? Video games have a lot more... I guess they have a lot more technical aspect to it, where, you know, because you're a concept artist, you know, you show how things work, and you have a very clear line art that where you can see everything. You see how things work. In manga, it's not as important. It's a fictional world, right? And so is video games, but video games have to be a little bit more convincing. They have to try a little bit more. And at that moment, I was like, wow, this is so sexy. I saw some of the most beautiful concept art. And it wasn't even concept art, guys. Any concept art that you see online and looks nice, that's not concept art. Concept art never looks nice, okay? My concept art is not real concept art, okay? Real concept art usually looks sketchy because you do it fast. You don't take 5 years to do one design, right? That's not what you do. The things that we mostly get to see, the audience, is designs. Those are designs that were actually drawn by artists after everything was already done. Specifically for an art book, right? So most of the time when you see, unless it's from a portfolio from a designer, art books never show, or rarely show, actual concept art. At least that's what I heard. And I would think that's true, because I can see how clean those line arts are, and there's no way that you could draw so many that great, you know, like, because I can see sometimes they have really nice design. Okay, some books have those really sketchy ones, but some have really tight designs. And they do feel like they've been drawn afterwards. So yeah, I saw that, and I was like, that is sexy. And I needed to get some of that. So I started to practice concept art. And the first thing that I really liked was digital painting. And digital painting was so hard because I didn't know how to paint. You know, when you're drawing, you draw lines, right? You draw edges of things. when you're painting, you're supposed to apply light, which is completely different than drawing. Absolutely nothing the same. You can't draw the paint. You have to paint the paint, okay? Because when light hits the surface, it lights it up, and that's how you get a shape. While with drawing, you just draw a circle, and that's how you get a circle, right? And it was so hard to grasp. I remember it being so frustrating. But eventually, through enough practice, the funny thing was, because that was sorry about that. That was end of the third year, and we had 2 months of summer break, and that time I practiced so much. I remember not being able to sleep till like 5 a.m. in the morning just because I was thinking about how I wanted to get good. I wasn't thinking about how crappy I am or what I'm gonna do tomorrow. I was literally imagining myself drawing and already being a fucking pro. Okay, that was what was going on in my head, and that's always happening in my head. It's what motivates me to keep on pushing, being what I see. So I want to being what I see. Wow, I really explained that well to you. I always push myself to be like I imagine myself that I will be. That's basically what's going on. So I always pushed myself. I couldn't sleep, but I did get decent, right? 4th year of high school, 8 months, probably like around 8 months is what you get to spend on the final project for 4th year. This is the graduation project, right? And at that time, I did a project called Eclipse Project, which if you know me, if you know my channel, and if you know my art on my DeviantArt, you have seen Eclipse Project. Eclipse Project is a huge breakthrough skill-wise for me. I learned a lot of digital painting skills generally just from Eclipse Project, line art, and I remember how I used to do it back then and how I do it now. Let me just explain how that went off. I used to draw designs in my notebook, and then I took a picture of them and I just traced them over with Photoshop, and then I simply copied what I already drew, right? I made a copy paste and I mirrored it and then did the back view in digital. Now I do everything in digital. Back then it was very difficult for me because just drawing line art was already really hard because I didn't have a lot of control. I had to look on the screen of the computer whilst drawing on a tablet, and when you start out, that's very difficult. A lot of the times the mouse goes where you don't want it to go, or your hand doesn't exactly move where you want it to go because your eyes are not used to looking away from your hand when you're drawing, right? You basically need to be capable of making arm movements and not being able to see your arm and making proper arm movements. It's kind of like eating without looking. We already know how to eat without looking. That's what you need to basically learn when you draw. So that was really difficult, and that's how I did it, right? And then digital painting is where I improved a lot with Eclipse Project. I did 4 characters, some sort of special items that they had, like each one of them had like almost like a weapon, but it wasn't really a weapon. It was like a activatable power. One of them was named Arena. Her special power was that she had these hover skates that like would allow her to, I think, go really fast, jump off of walls, double jump, right? And then this other guy named Atlas, which was like an old soldier who's been all over the world, has this monocle. He's also an architect, not just a soldier, also an architect. So I do all of that. I draw, digital paint, and then I go to environment art, which sucked, was difficult for me. But then that project was over, and I totally scored. I got an A even on my graduation test. That was like, that sounds really cocky when I say it, but I think it was like one of the better things anyone has like done in a while, because I think that most people that do it. I remember, because I used to do some of these projects for my schoolmates for money. I remember doing one for my schoolmate. She gave me like $60 and I did something, and like I was done really fast. And not everyone had the motivation to do it, okay? Some had some pretty good stuff. Some didn't, some just said whatever. And that was like a breakthrough for me, definitely. And then after that, I stayed home. I finished high school and I didn't go to college because sadly in Slovenia, we don't have very good designing colleges. We have one that's very well known here, which is in our capital city, but it's not that good. It's traditional. It's not digital. I don't actually think that they would even accept digital there. I don't know. I don't want to judge them. I don't want anyone from there to listen to this podcast and be like, that's not true. We totally do digital art. Again, I'm not sure, but in Slovenia, digital art is not very popular. There are some people that are pretty good in Slovenia, but generally not very popular. Again, we're a small country. It's totally understandable. So I didn't go to any school because I had no motivation. If I don't have motivation, and this is slightly embarrassing, but if I know that if I don't have motivation for school, I will fail it. I will definitely fail because I hate studying. I hate studying things that I don't have any interest for. While I am pretty smart, and again, sounds cocky, I am pretty smart, I just don't like to spend my time on things that absolutely have no meaning for me. And I had a lot of problem in high school with learning, not with learning, but with studying. The thing was, I was actually pretty good in high school. I think the last year of high school, again, don't know what grading systems are in other countries, but I had a 4, which was my final grade, and that's like second to best in our country. And again, almost no studying, right? Which personally, I think that's not that good because I know I could do a lot better, right? But it's school, so I really didn't kind of give a crap because the only reason why I went to school is for drawing and for that. I didn't go to school for math, for Slovenian language, for English, for geography, history. These are the things I learned in elementary school, right? Again, I think they're very important, but it's not something that I went to school for. So I didn't focus so much on those subjects. I focused a lot more on the ones that I actually cared about. Which again is totally fine because in our business nobody looks at your school stuff, so you should probably focus more on the things that actually are going to get you a job, if you are trying to be in this line of business. So after that, I was home for a year and I didn't have a job, nothing. I still did some art, and then the situation came, what am I going to do? So my professor, my teacher, a professor that also taught us graphic design, we were really good friends, actually, which sounds really funny because he's older than me and everything. But we had a pretty good relationship going on. And he calls me and he's like, yeah, our school is looking for an assistant and I'd totally like to have you, right? So he would be the teacher, I'd be his assistant, right? And I'm like, awesome, that sounds like a dream job for me right there. Working at our ex-school, teaching students how to do stuff, plus with my old teacher. Hell yeah, right? That's like a deal, like a total good deal. I go there and I'm like, not jokingly, I was serious when I said this. I have always considered about making a YouTube channel because you need to understand, in elementary school, I already had a YouTube channel. I had 2 YouTube channels, in fact. The YouTube channel you're watching now used to be called Cass12 something, right? And had a Sharingan for a profile picture from Naruto. It was really weird. And I did how to draw manga videos, which were so crappy because imagine a guy who's learning trying to do tutorials, and it was horrible. But people seem to have enjoyed it. I found this really nice way of drawing legs, and people really took a liking to that video, and I loved recording it. And I always wanted to have a YouTube channel. And I said to that day to myself, I remember that, I said, you know what, fuck it. If I don't get this job, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. And I didn't get that job. I was sure I was going to get it. But what they did was that they'd rather took someone else in because, you see, I only had high school, and the other girl, I don't think they did anything wrong here. At the time, I thought they were assholes, but now when I'm thinking about it, I don't think they were at all. They were just trying to do what's, the most beneficial to them, which is the correct way to do business. She had a school where she could also teach another subject, which was beneficial to them if the teacher for that subject was ever sick or ill. So yeah, I didn't get the job, and I started a YouTube channel. And my first video was Ashley's, I think her name was, a stupid video. And that's when I started to do a YouTube channel. And the reason why I did a YouTube channel was not just because I wanted to put on tutorials, teach people how to do stuff, because I truly enjoy teaching people how to draw. One of the main reasons was I needed something to keep pushing me forward. Something that will say, hey, you're not drawing this week. What the F? You have a YouTube channel. You can't slack off, right? That was my point. That would keep me drawing, that I would never have free days. And that worked very well. And on YouTube, if you look at my first video and you look at my latest video, which is not this one, is one with an art, you can see how much I actually improved, not just in digital painting, also in line art. YouTube helped me improve so much. And when I watch YouTube channels, you know, you watch bigger YouTube channels, they're like, oh yeah, it's all thanks to you guys. And a lot of haters are always like, yeah, that's bullshit, you know, nobody means that. But I believe that YouTubers that are grateful are actually grateful for their fans, just like I am, because nothing on YouTube is possible if people don't like you, if people don't watch your stuff. Nothing is possible. Even subscriber counts. If you didn't know, subscriber counts doesn't mean shit on YouTube. Literally, the only thing it means is how many people subscribe, so they get notified when you release a new video, which they might not even get notified if they didn't click the little bell button. So subscribers don't mean anything. I love how, okay, I'm going to take an example of PewDiePie because he's really famous. He gets a lot of shit for the subscribers and everything, but he gets like 1/10 of viewership from his subscribers. That's how much he gets. He gets like 2 million, 3 million, he has 50 million subscribers. It's not even 1/10, you know, 1/10. Yeah, it is kind of 1/10 maybe.
It was at that moment Clem realized he's seriously fucked up.
I'm very bad at math. I'm not that good at math. Don't look at me for math answers, okay? 1/10. It's 1/10 because I said so, but it might not be right. Anyways, again, let's just go away from the whole YouTube drama. Again, I do think that people are actually happy, because I know I am, because it helped me improve. And it's not only making my YouTube better, it's making my entire life better. Like, the fact that you watch my videos motivates me to draw more, which automatically reflects on me getting better. And that makes my life better, because I'm not always like, oh, I suck at drawing. Because I don't suck at drawing that bad. You know, I'm not that bad. And I'm getting even better, faster with YouTube. So, yeah. But, again, it took around 8 years. That was a lie. 9 years. 9 to 10 years to get to where I am now. From just drawing little sketches to drawing for my brother while he was in high school, to drawing manga to impress women, then going to high school and then coming to concept art. But I need you to know that just because I like concept art so much doesn't mean I don't like manga anymore. In fact, I want to still publish a comic book of some sort in my life. I do. I also want to create something animated. I want to do all these things, but all these things require a different skill set, which again requires some time before you obtain that skill set. But yeah, I think that's really it. Let me just finish what I was talking. Yes, I did a YouTube channel, I improved, and then one day I sat down in the chair, turned on my microphone, and started really creepily saying how you guys are looking for a podcast, and I am here saying how I did that. So there you go. Entire 20 years in like, what, 50 minutes, 40 minutes even, because 7 minutes I was just doing an introduction. But yeah, I think that's really it with my story. That's how I got here. And I know there's been a lot of wandering offs in that story where I just started explaining something else, but I hope I made some sort of sense. When you talk for 50 minutes straight, you sort of start losing you start to lose the sense of where you are in the story. So I'm really sorry if I started saying something and I didn't finish it. I have these roommates that are so fucking annoying, keep bothering me. No, I'm joking. But I did get like interrupted 2 times, and it's not a problem at all. It's just sometimes I just forget what I was saying. Just like, beep, and it's gone, like a brain fart. You know what I'm talking about. Your brain farts a little bit. But yeah, that's my story. That's how I decided that I wanted to do art. Oh, and let me just say one more thing that I feel like is so important. And if you have parents that are douchebags when it comes to you wanting to be a concept artist or an artist and they don't support it, I want you to show them this video, okay? Just this last part. Don't show them what came before. They won't take this last part serious probably. Also, don't show them any other of my videos. Or if you do show them other videos, just don't have audio on. Just have pictures, okay? People don't tend to take people like me seriously. No. But for reals now, if you're a parent and you don't allow or you don't support your children to be an artist because you think that that's not a way you can earn money, it's the most stupidest thing ever. You can earn money from literally anything. If you can earn money from sitting on your ass, eating food, filming, and putting it on YouTube, then you can earn money from drawing as well. Believe me. And I'm not saying that that's a non-legitimate work. I mean, can you imagine what iron stomach you must have for all that food? Have you ever watched mukbanging? I saw some women there. They eat so much food. Like, I could never eat that much food. And she's so tiny too, because Asians mostly do that. It's weird. Anyways, if you're a parent, you don't allow your children to have this kind of a career. You're basically, how would you call that? I don't know what it's called in English, but yeah, I guess you're suppressing his true desires, and eventually your child, which I'm sure you want all that's best for him, will end up miserable as F because he will be doing something that they don't want to do. I know how it is with my parents. When my dad goes to work, he doesn't go to work because he enjoys it. He goes to work because that's what you do. You have to go to work if you want to support your family. I'm not saying that he hates it, but if he could make a choice to stay home or go to work, probably he would stay home, right? If you want what's best for your child, just support them. Just because it's drawing and it's far-fetched and you didn't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. In fact, drawing and earning money, that's one of the more successful ways how you can live. Okay, drawings and designing is expensive as hell. So if you're good at it, you can earn really decent money. And what I want you to say also to the children of these parents, don't give up. I didn't give up, and I got a lot of shit, especially from my dad. And I cried many times because, I mean, I don't want you to guys think that my dad is a douchebag. In fact, he's pretty good. He just doesn't see art as an option in life, and he's worried that I might end up a homeless person, and I understand it. And I just don't think he used the right words. And I'm also a very emotional person, so there's two stories to this. Or there's two sides of the story, not just one. Two sides of the coin. But I got a lot of shit from just trying to speak out my mind, what I want it to be. And I realized that the most effective way is to just, do your stuff and just proof. That's what really your parents need, is proof that you can actually make money off of this. You need to, start getting really good at it. Believe me, because once you get really good at it, it's stupid to not actually pursue it, because it's like saying you got this sandwich and you've made 70% of the sandwich. And you're like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to have a sandwich. Like, who would not have a sandwich after it's already 70% done? Like, it's ridiculous. And that's why I'm saying, if you're already really good or pretty good, why would you stop? Just like me, I've wasted enough money, so much money, and so much of my time that it's literally stupid for me to not pursue this dream at this point. It's literally been all a waste, and of course I'm not going to do that. What I want you to do is to really, really follow your heart and just draw or do whatever it is that you want to do, because believe me, anything and just about any hobby can be turned into a business. It can be. All you need to have is the right mindset and, just the motivation to do it. Sometimes the weirdest ideas turn out to be the best. Look at PewDiePie. 3 years ago, the most cringiest person on the YouTube. Like, when I watch his videos from 2 years ago, now he's like the cringiest person alive. Like, all those weird sex jokes that I found hilarious at the time because I was younger, right? Now I just think they're cringy. But that kind of stuff appealed, and he didn't know that kind of stuff is going to appeal, but it does, Again, do whatever it is that you want to do, even if your parents say it's not okay. If your parents say it's not okay, then just secretly try to do it somehow, do this and school at the same time. Luckily for me, my parents were still sort of chill. I could still choose the school and everything, but I do realize that sometimes some parents actually force you to go to schools even if you don't want to go there. So, again, proof, that's what you need. So, yeah. I think this is slowly going to be the end of this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. It was the first one. Again, I did put some acoustic foam on the walls. Still need to figure out how to prevent sound from spreading to the walls and such. There is a lot of space here. You probably also heard some noises, some background talking, and I actually prefer to have that in my videos, because when I'm listening to YouTube videos and if I can hear some interaction amongst the host and people that you can see, it brings some sort of a a feeling of life. It's not all just acting. More human-like, more natural. So I'm gonna leave all that in, and you can tell me whether I should cut that kind of stuff out or leave it in. Again, I really enjoyed here, just sitting, talking. It was like, this is probably one of the most fun things I've done so far. I felt like filming that vlog and filming that thing with my friend. Filming that thing with my friend was absolutely fun. We had so much fun. We made so many bad jokes that are probably never going to make it on the internet. But I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed this. Just like I didn't enjoy vlogging as much as I enjoyed this. I feel like I have to a little bit force myself when it comes to those two. But this one feels so natural. I love to talk, I am known to talk a lot. And, this is really nice. Again, hope you enjoyed this first episode of the podcast. And I want to do more of these. And I will do more of these. And I know not everybody will listen to these. Again, I said whatever. I know everyone is not going to like these videos, not going to listen to this, but I still want to make it because I enjoy it. And I think number one rule of YouTube is do what you want to do. And once you're popular, I guess that's when you start to sort of direct yourself in the wishes of the audience. But I do hope that my podcast become not famous. I'm talking about famous in my community, because I'm starting to build this little community of artists and people that like my art, like my videos, tutorials. And I hope that I will also attract some of you with these podcasts because I found them very enjoyable. And I just want to talk about whatever. If you do have any suggestions, what you want me to talk about, certain themes, anything, because podcasts are not, my podcasts are never going to be limited to art. We can talk literally about anything. I think that on my channel, podcast is going to be where I sort of like almost talk to you. I say my opinion on the theme that you're interested in, and then you guys reply in the comments. And believe me, I read every comment. There's not that many, so, it's not really that hard. But I do read all of the comments, and I think I also like most of them because it's fun to read. It really is. People are really kind to me, and it's always nice and motivating. I think it almost feels like I'm trying to stretch this last part, but I swear to God, I'm not trying to stretch it out. But I might just make it to 1 hour, which would be great, because I have a slight OCD when it comes to numbers. If it's not a nice round number, I hate it. Again, thanks for listening to this podcast, and I'll talk to you in the next one, and you'll listen to me in the next one. Great outro. Awesome. All right. I guess I'll see you in the next one. I won't be seeing you. What am I doing? Why can't I just make a normal outro? Like, seriously, this is all going to stay in, by the way, because I want you to hear how bad I fail in this podcast. But no, for reals, now I'm going to quit, okay? Even if it's like the baddest ending ever. And I said, oh, God. Goodbye, okay? Goodbye.